Welcome to Beyond the Desk with me, Rachel Ferrell. I'm a realtor and a homeschool mom serving Southern Middle Tennessee. My mission is to help people live outside of their mortgages by buying homes they can afford and using the rest of their resources to live the life of their dreams. Which leads us here. On this podcast, we're going to deep dive the real estate market for consumers and agents alike. We're going to talk about work-life balance for folks who choose to homeschool their kiddos. And then we're going to spend a lot of time talking about all the ways that we can live a life unbound. I look forward to seeing you here every week. Welcome to Beyond the Desk. I am Rachel Ferrell, and I am so excited to be here today with my friend
Trent Denson.
Woohoo! Woo. Trent, how do I know you?
How do I know Rachel? That's a loaded question. Podcasting mainly. Life.
Yeah.
Friendship.
But who are you here?
Spread the Positive.
Spread the
STP
Positive.
Network. Gratefully hosting the Beyond the Desk pod.
I know. It's so weird to say the name because it used to be the Rachel Ferrell Show,
Yes.
and now it's Beyond the Desk.
I think it really encompasses what you're trying to do.
I think it does too.
Yep.
And it was funny, we were talking earlier about just like the focus of the show. What are we going to talk about today? And so many times I try and put a ton of different topics into one.
Keep it to 2.
I'm going to keep it down to 2.
2 is a good number for
2.
you. 2 is a good number for you.
2 is a good number for me because typically that 2 turns into 10, 3 turns into 30.
Exactly.
And so 2 keeps it focused. Anyway, so the past couple of weeks I've been doing some different teaching in the Tullahoma. In Tullahoma, we have a new office.
Shouts to the new office.
Southern Middle Realty. Thank you so much.
KW,
Oh, thank you.
right?
Popping confetti. Go team.
All
the
confetti.
things.
All the confetti.
Absolutely. So we outgrew our space pretty quickly. We're into this new space. Now people have their own individual offices, which is a huge benefit, obviously, over the open concept space that we'd had. But we had to do some searching, and we really had to make sure that we were ready and set up to do it. And absolutely, yes, we were ready to go. And so we have, I am now the director of operations and growth inside of that space.
Congrats.
I work 2 days a week there. Thank
Beautiful.
you. It's a blast. And I get to help craft the education calendar.
I love that.
And what's been really interesting about crafting the education calendar is getting to hear feedback from agents about what it is that they need in their life.
Yeah.
We did a class called The 6 Personal Perspectives a couple of weeks ago, and it's all about committing to self-mastery, you know, the 80-20 rule, if you've ever heard of it, and then you've got moving from E to P.
Break down the 80-20 rule real quick.
The 80-20 rule is that 20% of what you do in a day gives you 80% of the results that you see.
That's beautiful.
It is really kind of a fantastic rule. And when people hear that, I think they start realizing like what things that they are doing every single day that actually is giving them no results. They're just busy for the sake of being busy, or they have this huge long checklist. I am so guilty of it. Of having a front to back checklist of something and not realizing like, okay, I really need to narrow in what is the 1 or 2 things that I can do today that's going to make everything else unnecessary. And it makes it really hard to ignore anymore all of the little things that you're doing inside of your life. There's a really cool story that they tell in it about a vase of stuff, and they have, you know, these rocks, a stuffed vase, you know,
everybody
that's what I have my vases for. It's a stuffed vase.
That's amazing.
He puts some rocks in the vase. He puts some big rocks in this vase, and he asks the crowd like, hey, is it full? And what does the crowd say?
No.
Well, they say yes.
Oh.
For the purposes of this demonstration, Trent.
Yes.
They say
of course
yes.
they do. The stuffed vase is full.
The stuffed vase is full, and he was like,
Wrong.
no, you're silly. Do we start over? Just kidding, we don't. You had a 50% shot. I'm not asking you the question anymore. I'm just going to say what the answer was. So then they have this, he puts little pebbles in there. He's got little pebbles and whatever, and he puts it in there and he fills it up. And then he asks the audience, is it full? And there was some hesitation because there's a 50-50 shot, but he leans into the people that say what?
No.
Yes, it is.
I got it wrong again.
Yes, it is full.
It's so full.
No, it's not full. Shock and awe. It's not actually full. So he takes some.
That's what happened. Oh, see, I know the answer.
You already know
I've
the
heard
answer.
ending. Sorry.
You
Okay.
do.
So
I need to ask the questions better to you. So they fill it up with sand, and he asks the question, is there more space in here? And everybody in the room is starting to get the hint. No, there's not more space. And so then he grabs the water and he fills up the container, and the water fills in all of the cracks where The sand didn't fill. And he said, what if I were to fill this vase up just with water? Could I put any of these big rocks inside of this vase? And the answer is no.
I was about to.
You could put them in there, but it would completely overflow,
Yes.
which completely defeats the purpose of holding the things inside of the vase. The vase represents time, and we cannot add time, right? Oh my gosh, I'm dying. This is hilarious.
Yes.
So that's kind of the theory behind it, is that you have to take care of the big rocks first. If you don't take care of the big rocks first, then you're going to be trying to fit big rocks into, a vase that you've already filled with water.
Yes.
Absolutely.
See,
so all these little things throughout that. We did. That was good. You're going to come with me the next time I teach that class because we'd be entertaining at minimum.
Right. So
you
the
know
80-20 rule and the stuff
80-20 rule.
I think the people get
Absolutely,
it.
they do.
So time blocking, right?
Yeah, it all goes back to time blocking. But really, I mean, the whole point of the course is to learn what it is that means the most to you.
Yes.
And then filling your days with the things that
big rocks
are going to get you to those most important things. And it's funny because you sit down and you talk to people and you ask them, like, what are your goals? And they can't answer that question. What do you want in life? What are you trying to do? And I think, some people, they're just trying to survive. They're actually in survival mode, where I think most people are just in this, like, awkward stasis. It's not that they don't have dreams or goals, and it's not that they're unhappy with their life. It's that they're just every single day just doing the things, they're surviving, and that's it. And then when they get asked the question, what is your purpose in life? What is the why? It makes it really hard to develop a plan for what your day is supposed to look like without knowing what the why really is. I think what we try and do is figure out not necessarily what is your big business why, but what is the reason you wake up every single morning? Why are you doing what you're doing? And for us in our house, I mean, I think it just comes down to Ferrells. Ferrells are good people. Yeah. We're trying to be good people every single day. What is it that we can do to further that Ferrells are good people? We have an incredible opportunity, Nick and I, as far as our family tree goes. Obviously we've got my lineage, but then you've got, we're Ferrells is what I like to tell people. We're sort of starting from the ground up. We are the seed to plant for my two boys. Whenever they grow the generational tree, it's going to come back to us. There's not a Ferrell name. There's other people, but there's not a Ferrell name behind that.
Sure.
And so what do I want for generations to be able to say, this is what the Ferrell started?
Yeah.
And it feels like a huge weight, but at the end of the day, again, Ferrells are good people. That's what we're looking to do, is just to be good people.
That as like the baseline, you should be good, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I actually read that in a parenting book one time, and I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, when you look at your kids and you're trying to, convey, this is what happened today, here were some disappointments, here were some successes, but why do we do all of this? It's because we're good people.
Yeah, I like that.
I really liked that perspective.
I like that a lot.
So anyway, that's what we're seeing in agents. I actually planned on coming in here with a book that I had purchased. Naturally, I did not read the description of said book. I saw the cover and thought, that looks fun. And
of course,
got it.
That adds up.
It does add up, right? And I sent it to Trent, and I was like, this is what I think we should talk about whenever we talk on Sunday about achievement paralysis, just the way that people are, we're in this culture of needing to achieve and see these successes. And it turns out that this book was really about kids and school, education, the performance expectations within the classroom. It was just such an interesting intersection of what I'd been talking about with adults and obviously what we've been experiencing with homeschool throughout the past year.
Yeah.
Very beyond the desk.
We are beyond the desk.
We are. You tell me, what does achievement mean?
Man,
what does achievement mean to you?
Super common, and like you said, just our day and age, it's all about performance and works and the achievements and the recognition, right? I guess we're all kind of seeking some recognition and validation and confirmation that what we're doing matters. I think I definitely struggle with that. I mean, that's a big struggle of mine, because this stuff that we're doing, I mean, I always say it's bigger than me, it's not about what I'm doing to tell these stories, or I'm proud of the platform that we have, and it's amazing the people that walk in the door like yourself and so many other people that are part of this. And then that responsibility, that pressure definitely adds up sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's we're bringing light to what's going right.
Yeah.
As long as we're doing that, as long as we're focusing on stuff that's actually working, telling real stories, it checks all the boxes. So definitely struggle with that, but I feel like I've gotten a better understanding and like grasp of that over, I'd even just say like the past like 6 months. It's weird how certain things happen and just perspectives change, and being able to really again focus on the big rocks and not overfill that stuff face, like that's a big thing.
It is,
and it's hard. It's a full-time job just to do that, let alone keep up with all the responsibilities of your day-to-day. So no, I totally feel that, and what you said, I think like that's a pretty simple but profound baseline, right? I think that's another thing that we have in common with that is, as long as we're doing things to help, right? As long as we're focusing on, building our immediate circle to be what goes out to the rest of the world, we're good.
Right.
Like, as long, that's all we're called to do, right?
Right.
I mean, that's biblical. Like,
oh, totally.
Yeah. So
we're recording this on a Sunday, and ironically,
this is
at church today. Yeah. I mean, that was what they were talking about. Was out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Who are we serving, and why are we doing that? And are we doing it for the sake of doing, or are we doing it because love is what matters?
Keep going.
And I think the point of the book too was, what does it mean to matter?
Wow.
How do I convey to my children that they matter no matter what they do?
Yes.
And when the pressure of the world comes in on us, how do I make sure that I'm not focusing so much on the pressures that really important piece, the whole mattering part, isn't diminished?
Yes. Wow.
It was interesting listening to, or it wasn't listening. I know, pew pew. Oh, I didn't mean to like pew pew at the camera. I'm not trying to kill anybody.
No, it's
just the truth.
That's the truth gun.
It's the truth. It's the truth gun. I like that. That's the only one that I'll be using anytime soon. It's the truth guns.
Stuff faces
I think
truth guns.
What you say, stuff faces and truth guns. That's going to be the name of this podcast episode, and nobody's going to know. It's going to be unsearchable, totally unplottable. The SEO is garbage, but you know what? It was
Totally
fun, worth
Totally
every
worth
minute of it. But like that's really the thing with the kids. So there's been this post that's been floating around this past week about the TCAT. The third grade reading assessment has just been like a nightmare for everybody. It's been one of the big reasons why we pulled was because we homeschool, obviously.
Beyond the desk.
Real estate, homeschooling, life unbound. But the pressures of those tests just are insane.
And dumb.
They are dumb.
Yeah.
You're exploiting teachers' passions so that they can keep their job?
Yeah.
To make sure that
we're,
a
like struggling to find
third
teachers.
Grader is at like 100% reading
Don't
proficiency
get me
it drives me a little crazy. And again, I mean, I've got two very different children. I had one that really struggled with handwriting, and I have one that struggles with letter recognition, but you would recognize every single number and letter that he writes because his handwriting is so daggum good. It's so interesting and so backwards. And I don't want him to feel the pressure of that third grade policy when I know that it's going to take him a little bit more time to get there, and it's okay because he matters anyway.
That's right.
And it's hard. I think back to middle school specifically was when I remember my dad sitting me down and showing me like how averages work. Mm-hmm. And if I could just make 100 on a couple of things, then my average would be brought up. Beyond that, I don't think Dad ever held me to any sort of academic standard.
That's interesting.
It was really interesting thinking back on it last night as I was reading the book, that there was not like, if you make straight A's, then I will give you this kind of thing. He did not incentivize.
Really? I mean,
for
I had some.
That.
Yeah. I was just, don't get a C. That was always like a.
Don't get a C.
Yeah.
Amy and I would have been like, I don't know.
83.
C's get degrees. Is that not what it is? But I think a lot of what we struggle with in school is like finding the passions. I know I've already said the word exploit. I try not to use the same word multiple times, but not exploiting the kids' passion, like Minecraft,
Sure.
The kids love Minecraft.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a Minecraft writing book or whatever. Like, I don't want to destroy his fun hobby just because I need him to succeed in a certain way. But all of this.
I think that's important to recognize. And I feel like homeschooling is getting like this like new surgence, especially since COVID. But even beyond that, a lot of people are realizing like the way we've done things for a long time is outdated and antiquated, and like the way all this stuff is progressing so fast. Like it's impossible. It's impossible to keep up, let alone like a
Yes.
third grader like having to have the same.
You're putting the stress of a 37-year-old, I'm
Yeah,
just throwing an age out, a
sure.
37-year-old teacher onto 22 different third graders.
And making them all the same or
If
like
they don't
check those
perform,
boxes.
then this person's in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And I
wild.
do not want to teach my kids that every day is a box to check.
Yep.
And it's very frustrating. But what did you say you said something a second ago that made me aha. You were talking about antiquated,
Outdated. Like
outdated
just the
things.
faith. I mean, we obviously there's some truth to like the foundational ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously,
Yes.
like there's and
Yes.
yeah, like structure's
Did you see the
important, responsibility is important, socializing's important. Like the whole concept of school.
But being a
there's-
5-year-old's important too.
sure,
And I
living your
think
life,
that
yeah.
that's kind of the benefit of being able to homeschool is having the opportunity to. We are not so overscheduled in our week that I am having to clean up for my children or I am having to do things that the kids need to learn so that they can be well-functioning members of society so that they can finish their homework and make it to the next place.
Yep.
And I think that where we really fail kids is, we want them so desperately to succeed that we put them in all of these different activities that in our mind says success.
Sure.
And then eventually whenever they go, they don't know how to do their laundry.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to,
Yeah, you're gonna
budget.
life's gonna life,
life is going to life. And there are some people who are really good at getting out at 18, 19 years old and being able to say, you know what, I'll just Google it and figure it out.
Yeah.
But not every kid's like that.
No.
Not every person is like that. I think that it's the building on successes. So there were a couple of studies that were listed in the book about how like back in the 1970s versus today, moms are far more involved in their kids' lives than they were before. Even the work from home or the working moms
Yep.
are far more involved. Dads are far more involved than ever before. And yet what we're seeing is a generation of anxiety and depression
Yep.
and this consistent need to meet and achieve. So much of what we talk about too is raising the bar. What are we
Sure.
going to do this year? We're going to raise the bar.
Yep.
And I remember thinking a long time ago, like at what point
That bar is pretty high.
the bar is so high, and what are we doing to our kids in order to meet that standard? Well, I had a kindergarten teacher tell me that when she was teaching kindergarten back 40 years ago, it was A, not required. B, they would come inside and she would say, this is the letter A. What letter is this? They'd all say, it's the letter A. She'd say, all right, go play.
Yeah, right.
And they get to go play.
Yeah, right.
And now if your child is not walking into kindergarten with very serious pre-reading skills,
Yeah.
they're behind on day one.
Yep.
And then if they're not reading by Christmas, then they're considered behind
Yeah.
halfway through their first year. It's very
That's wild.
depressing.
Yeah.
So I think the whole reason why I say all of these things, we're setting the bar, we have these levels of success. Even in the business world, it's easy as realtors to look at other realtors and say, this person is successful, this person is not successful, this is whatever. We all set our own standards.
Sure.
I have a goal in my house for what it is that I need to do as a realtor, as somebody who works in the office, as a mom. And the people that I sit and get to like talk to and coach with every single week, they have their own measure of success.
Yep.
And the only measure of success that matters to me is the one that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
There is not a single person inside of my town that can say boo about what it is that I'm doing
Sure.
inside of my world, and make me feel bad about it because that success is determined by me, not by anybody else.
Boom. A lot of
It's-
people don't operate like that.
So hard to operate like that,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. And they're always playing the comparison game, and that's the thief of joy.
It is the thief of joy.
Yeah, that's tough. I got a question for you. Why is that so important to you? Like, why? I feel like that's like your number one passion is outside of like your family and your work. It's like helping people through that. So like, where does that come from?
That's a great question that I don't think I've ever been asked before.
Wow.
I know what it feels like
Yeah.
to sit under a mountain of other people's expectations, and it hurts.
Yeah.
I remember being back in, it's funny as you get older and you're researching and you're doing things and you have the ability to put a name to the feelings that you've had, where you're set up to be in a position or you're set up to do something, and then somebody else comes in and snatches it from you.
Sure.
Snatches. Or somebody else comes in and all of a sudden they're the new.
And they're doing it already.
They're the new
Yeah,
prize.
sure,
They're the new
sure.
thing. And so we lean into that. And then all of a sudden, what does that make you feel like? Worthless? Less than?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not number one, so why am I trying?
Yeah.
And I think that I very easily, before the podcast, we were talking a little bit about some of the serious moments that I felt as I was reading through this book.
Yeah.
You know, why did I pull my kids from school? There's a huge part of it that makes me feel like I don't want them to run in the rat race, but another part of it is that I don't feel like I can compete in the race as a mom.
Wow.
With my kids. You know, you've got all these dress-up days, you have the dances, you have the fun runs, you have, you know, did my kid raise enough money? Did he come home from school crying because he missed out on something that I somehow missed?
Yeah, right.
Because now my child's education is a full-time job for me too, to make sure that all of the ducks are in a row for it. I felt incompetent. And so it just was easier to bow out of the race than it was to
That's not bowing out. That's
run
like,
the race.
Yeah.
I'm running a different race.
That's it. That's exactly it.
I've chosen just a different path.
Yeah, you created your own lane.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, I like that.
That's commendable.
Creating
I love that.
my own lane.
Yeah, that's what, and the fact that you can do it, right? Like you said that too. Like that's a blessing.
It's
like
a huge
you're blessed
blessing.
to be able to do that.
But I'm not the only one that can.
Right. Sure.
And I think that so many times people are blinded to what other people are doing. It's like the whole, you know, you scroll through social media and you see this is what this person is doing. This is what the typical mom is supposed to be doing. If I do not have supplementary resources for my child in school, then they're going to be behind.
Yep.
By the time they get into middle school, if I have not spent our summers doing bridge work to make sure that they're, you know, retaining the math, to make sure that they're ahead of the curve, you know, I think it's not even just meeting the expectation, it's exceeding the expectation. We are a generation of highly educated people who are consistently looking to exceed expectations. And now we have a generation that's fighting hard to always exceed expectations. Exceeding expectations is the new normal.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, then
Less than.
you're less than.
Yeah.
You don't
It's
matter.
not accurate.
It's
Yeah.
not accurate. And mattering
Feel ya.
starts at home.
Yep.
Mattering is knowing that there are people in your world inside of that intimate circle that you have that, without a shadow of a doubt, whatever you do, will always love you.
Yep.
And it's interesting seeing how our words, you know, it's funny to say our words matter.
Yep.
The way that we respond to our children and to people who are inside of our world, it matters. You know, you can be a positive, you know, you can give positive affirmation, you can give obviously negative affirmation. But even sometimes in the positive affirmations, you're solidifying a need for somebody to perform in order for them to feel good or to feel like you love them.
Sure.
I mean, there have been many times over the past several months that I've actually point blank asked my kids whenever they get frustrated with themselves because of something I've asked them to do and, you know, they weren't able to meet. For example, the letter H, you know.
Sure. It's tricky.
He gets so mad. He's like,
tricky.
why can't I remember the letter H? And I'm like, buddy, do you think mommy loves you less because you can't remember this word, this
right.
letter? Just making sure that what it is that I'm saying to him is not affirming any sort of, you must do this in order to receive
Sure.
my unconditional love.
Right.
And I think we try and find so much value in our job that we come home at the end of the day and we're defeated. And we work so that we can go home and find joy and to be able to let it go and be in that position. A lot of times when I sit down with somebody who can't identify a goal, it's because they've allowed other people in their life to identify their goals for them. Whatever this, you know, invisible goal is. And to be able to say, you don't have to do that to be successful. You get to decide what you want to do. And if you don't know what that is, then you start talking to yourself a little bit more and figure out, where do you want to be? Being able to help somebody see that they can run a different race, that there are multiple pathways to success, is highly rewarding for me.
Yeah.
To be able to say, you don't have to run. You don't have to fight with people who are only going to tear you down.
Yeah.
You can run in a race where there are people who are going to lift you up, and it's going to be okay.
That's beautiful.
It's interesting too, whenever people, I guess, going down the race analogy, when I choose a different race to run, the number of people that are going to, swap from sideline to sideline and say, like, Rachel was in that race and I loved that about her. Now Rachel's in this race. Like, I don't want to cheer for that race. You know who it is that is going to move with you. Yeah. And those are the people that you really have to lean into. Those are the people who see that you matter.
Yeah.
What is it? You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I mean, we had my youth minister growing up always said, you are who you hang around. If you don't like who you are right now, then you need to take a really deep look at who it is that you're surrounding yourself with. And that really, I think, has probably been something that's carried with me throughout the years. I have noticed that, kind of going back to the how do I matter, who do I matter to the most, and how do I craft my day and my week to make sure that I'm reaching those goals and, meeting the needs of those people, and therefore meeting the needs of myself. I think that's probably been the hardest part about the past 2 weeks. Being able to advocate for myself and say, the work that I do deserves X, or the work that I'm doing allows me the opportunity to have a break. It's okay to have a break. It's okay to take a Saturday off. Yeah. I think people are so focused on just scheduling the minutia of every single day. Whenever I'm sitting down and I'm trying to relax, how do I relax and not put 15 things on my to-do list at the same time? Mm-hmm. What did I read something the other day that said, like, how do I maximize my downtime? Yeah. Like, how do it's just, no, you just need to sit.
Is that what you need? Yeah.
You just need, just take a deep breath.
Your downtime.
There's no reason to maximize my downtime. Yeah, okay. I have maximized the other hours of my day so that I have the ability to enjoy my downtime. How do I go on a camping trip and not feel guilty that I'm on the camping trip and not doing what I should be doing every single day? It goes back to the 80-20 principle. Yep. Whenever I am at work, am I working in the 20% so that I can see the results that I need to feel relaxed whenever I go? Yep. And actually have downtime? Yep. Am I scheduling downtime enough within my day-to-day that it feels normal and it doesn't feel like some sort of heavy, foot off the gas, backwards, whatever, trajectory because I've stopped? No, it can't feel that way. I know what my goals are. I know what I need to do every single day to get to those goals. And then whenever I come home at 5 p.m., I need to be able to, you know who did that the best? Sure. Brett Garner.
Man.
He would call, or I would call him and ask him a question, and then he would have to remind me, you have to be with your family.
Yeah.
Every day my phone goes off at 5 p.m. and I don't answer it so that I can have dinner with my kids.
Nice.
We were not having dinner as a family until I had a conversation with him one day about how he has dinner with his kids every single night. And I was like, I cannot allow my children to sit down at the table and eat the meal that I've made while I finish preparing my meal so that they can go play and I eat by myself.
Sure.
And that was what I was doing. I was giving them the opportunity to sit and eat together, and I wasn't giving us the opportunity as a family to sit down and eat together. And now we do that with intentionality every single night. We have dinner together, or at least we try to have dinner together.
Sure.
So back to the time blocking piece of it. Your 20%, I mean, you have to do that in a day in order to feel successful. So I have 3 jobs, essentially. Mm-hmm. I have 4 jobs. I've got my job, which is to help people buy houses or sell houses, whichever. Yep. I have my, which is in my business, Rachel Ferrell, Realtor. Mm-hmm. And, my business is a lead generation and should I be looking at something?
No, you're good.
Okay. It's a lead generation company. So I have Rachel Ferrell, who does my job of transacting on houses. Yep. I have Rachel Ferrell Realtor, which is my business, and I have to make sure that all of the business things are running correctly. Is the money flowing? How is the money flowing in? Where's the money going to? How am I generating leads? Because you cannot be a realtor. You cannot be in any business. You can't be a lawyer. You can't be a doctor. You cannot be Spread the Positive Network without generating leads in order to have people come onto your programs, be a part of your world. So that is Rachel Ferrell, Realtor. I am the Director of Operations and Growth at Southern Middle Realty 2 days a week from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. That is my job. What am I doing from 9 to 5 to make sure that the Director of Ops is successful and is giving people what they need inside of that role? I am a homeschooler. Like, I homeschool my children. What do I do to optimize my time in my homeschool world?
It's a lot already.
It's a lot, right?
It's a lot already.
And I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I'm teacher, Rachel. You know, I'm teacher mom, but I'm also just mom. And so how do I make sure that when my kids look at me, they don't just see a teacher, they see somebody that they can relax into, that knows that they're going to love them unconditionally. And that role, you know, is so many things too. You've got the house, you've got all of the different pieces of it. Nick has his own responsibilities, but I mean, even the book says, and I don't care how progressive we get as a society, moms are uniquely moms. Mm-hmm. If I'm working or if I'm not working, there are things that just naturally fall on my plate as mom that will never go away. I don't want them to go away. I love that part of being, you know, who I am in this world. But making sure that all of the pieces and parts are in play so that I have the ability to make sure that everybody knows that they matter. So as far as my workday goes, you know, Mondays and Wednesdays, like I said, I'm Director of Ops inside of that space. What do I have? 30 minutes of quiet time every single morning. I have an ops meeting with my team at 9:30 every single Monday. What are we talking about that day? What are the big rocks that we need to be doing to make sure that the business is running smoothly throughout the week? And then in the afternoons, I have specific time slots available for appointments with one-on-one with agents, one-on-one with people who are looking to potentially join KW. But I have that same block set every single week. Yep. Whenever it comes to Rachel Ferrell, Realtor, while I homeschool on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a little bit of realtor time set aside every day that I'm not doing my ops job.
Sure.
I had somebody call the other day and they were like, hey, can you meet me at a property at 9:30 next Thursday? And I didn't have to think. For the first time in a very long time, since I've been teaching these classes and really like digging into what time management looks like, I was able to actually say on the phone, yes, I do. Because I know that on 9:30s on Thursdays, this is what I'm doing. And I knew what I had planned for the following week. But I was able to say yes very easily because I knew that it fit within the parameters of that time.
It's really awesome.
And if it didn't, I was going to be able to say, actually, I don't have 9:30 available, but I do have at 1 o'clock because I know for sure that 1 o'clock is when I'm doing, you know, whatever piece of it. It's so much easier to look at somebody and say, hey, I have availability next week from, you know, 10 to 2, or that's a really long time, from 10 to 11, or from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
When are you available? And they have the ability to say, yes, I can choose one of these two things. And I had already had it on my calendar. I knew what I needed to do. I know what I need to do during my lead gen time or my, you know, preparation work. I know I need to reach out to 2 people and I need to fill these 2 slots next week. And when they're full, I feel successful. I know I've filled the slots. I know what I'm doing. And that day is going to run smoothly because I've set it up in a way for it to run smoothly. Same thing with homeschooling, you know, like we have certain goals within our homeschool world. If I can get Logan's attention for 15 to 20 minutes at a time, I've won. We do, it's the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Arithmetic, you know, I want to say math.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, but then it doesn't flow with the 3 R's.
Sure.
Right. Anyway, so reading, writing, and math. Those are the 3 things. And if I can get 15 minutes of Logan's time, then it's a win because of just the way that his little mind thinks. But throughout the day, rather than, all right, we're going to sit down and we're going to do 4 hours of this, JD can do that in a heartbeat. He can sit down and he can plow through some one-on-one work real easy. Logan, I bring him in just as I can. And I think the beauty of homeschooling and the beauty of, even if you can't homeschool, I guess really, you know, the premise of this book is how do you incorporate your kids into what it is that you're doing? How do you make sure that you're not so overscheduled that they're able to learn as you're doing life? Life is learning. Every single day is an opportunity to learn. JD asked me the other day, there's a recipe and it called for 3/4 a cup of something. And all we had was 1/4 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup, and 1/2 a cup. And he's like, how on earth am I supposed to do this? I'm like, which of those do you use? How many times to get to 3/4?
Yeah.
And what's funny is that when he sits down and he does the math work on paper, he can do it easy. Like he'll say it. But because I made him do the actual cooking, it was applicable. It was what mattered.
That's awesome.
Same thing again with the realtor world. And that's who I primarily talk to is realtors. But every single time, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, I won't say every single, I don't want to overgeneralize, but 80 to 90% of the time, whenever I'm sitting down with somebody and we're talking through what their goals and aspirations are, they want to talk about their business, but we cannot nail down what they want to do with their business unless they know what they want to do with their life. Nobody works just to work. I don't do this job just for the sake of doing the job. I do the job so that I can live the life of my dreams. And if I don't know what the life of my dreams is, how on earth am I supposed to find joy in what it is that I'm doing at work? Anyway, that's it. That's what's been going on.
Man, that's beautiful. That's what it's all about.
It is what it's all about.
You did it.
Consistency continues to be like what pops up for me. Time on task over time, over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again. You know, I have a new strategy now for working out because, you know, I don't like to do that. I don't. I hate it. Mm-hmm. I need to, though. Mobility is important. As I'm getting older, I mean, I know I'm not like old, but I'm mobile now. If I wait until the moment that I'm not, then it's too late. So what do I need to be doing now to make sure that I can, at 80 years old, stand up from a sitting position so that I can, you know, beat the odds?
Yeah, beat the odds. Yeah.
Not fall, break a hip, and then go from there.
That's important.
So what I'm doing now is stair stepping. 3 days per week, I plan on having something that I'm going to do. And I just want to do one move, whatever it is. One weightlifting something, just one thing. 3 days a week, and I'm going to do that for 2 weeks. Yeah. And then after that, I'm going to add something else. And that's more than what I'm doing now, which is important in heading towards my goal. But consistency, whenever I asked a friend of mine, what do I need to talk about on this podcast? And we constantly come back to consistency. I want to do it all at one time. Mm-hmm. I want everything to be done at one time. And what I've really noticed over the past, again, you know, month, 2 months, has been nailing down what my priorities are, nailing down what my time block looks like every single day has proven the point of consistency. Yeah. I think that about this podcast. What am I going to do? Just remain consistent, even if it's just me and you talking or me talking to myself. I find joy in this. How do I do that so that I can remain consistent?
This is helping me, so you need...
That's great news.
Yeah, see?
I'll send you some worksheets afterwards.
I need them.
And then we'll do this again in 30 days and see where you're at.
Oh, boy.
I know, right?
Teacher age.
Man, it's a blast. So
that's awesome.
I don't know how far we are into this.
That was good.
I feel like this is probably a good ending point.
Beyond the desk.
You'll know if I'm consistent if I come back in 2 weeks. Right now, our plan is every other week to go from there. But I think it's going to be, I don't know, I'm feeling really good.
I got some guest ideas for you.
I can't wait.
Yeah, they'll be really good.
I think so too.
Spoiler alert, or cliffhanger for the people.
Cliffhanger.
That's
I'm going to find out afterwards.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to do. We're going to have some good guests. Thank you so much for coming and for listening. Thank you if you're like driving in the road or you're listening at work. I think if you just to give like a plug, and I'm pretty sure there's a plug in the outro, but I'm going to do it anyway. This one's from my heart.
Okay.
If you liked this episode, if you feel like it was helpful, I would love to get some feedback on it. Text me, DM me, make a comment at the bottom of the whatever. I think you can comment on podcasts. Leave a review.
5 stars.
Follow the show. It's probably going to be focused about this kind of stuff. I just feel like this is consistently what I talk about the most.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it.
Necessary.
I hope y'all have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. I want to hear from you. If you hear something that resonates with you, give this show a like and a comment. Feedback fuels growth, and I'm ultimately here for you. I can't wait to have you back next week.